What's up, guys? This is Kephas. Alright, so we're back in Stranglethorn. I survived the tiger attack and got my pet back out. Still PvP flagged, but hopefully it'll be fine. So anyways, let's get right back into it. So last episode, we were answering the question, long question. Sorry for the detour, but I felt like, last time we talked about, when discussing, my experience trying to work, I felt like it was important to go through the college experience, because that's kind of connected. And so, I kind of talked about my college experience, but we'll pick things up with post-college experience, right, and everything that happened with that. It kind of didn't really go anywhere for me, personally, just had a lot of challenges. Look, man, listen, when I talk about this stuff, I want to make it clear that I'm not whining, I'm not crying, I'm not complaining, I'm just giving you my honest, if people ask, I'm giving you my honest answers. People may not like my decisions, but, it's in my shoes and in my experiences and being honest. So, a lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about today, I've actually covered in some Legally Blind episodes. I do a series every now and then, when I have a good topic. I'll do an episode of Legally Blind, which is a show where I talk about life being visually impaired. You can find the videos on my YouTube channel. Just search for Legally Blind. I have several up there. And I answered this a little bit there, but I'll reiterate a little bit here. So, after the college experience, I got into a situation where I needed to move out on my own, just with, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it was just necessary. I had to get out on my own. And so, I moved out. I was living off of my my government assistance. Like I said, I learned how to stretch a penny. But I was still trying to find something more, some work, some kind, college kind of just didn't really lead to anything. Unfortunately, just with how things went, just didn't lead to anything. So I was kind of lost, like a duck out of water or something like that. Or a fish out of water, I guess. I don't know. Just not really sure what to do. And I discovered a government program in my area that was supposed to be a work rehabilitation program. And so I was like, well, maybe they can help, right? And so I went to that. I was living on my own. I moved out from home. I was living on my government assistance. I did have SNAP as well. So I was with that and with assistance. I was living tight, but I was living, and it wasn't too terrible. I was just getting into the YouTube scene at this point, right? So I was making YouTube videos, and I, went to the rehabilitation program, which I had to go for a meeting, so I had to get a ride. I had to figure out how I was going to do this. So I had to get a ride, and I found one, and I got there, and I talked to somebody, and they're like, okay, we'll have you come back for another meeting in about a month or so. And I'm like, wow, a month, okay. And so I went in for another meeting, and I met with someone different. This was my caseworker, and she was like, okay, so what do you want to do? And I was like, I mean, something that I can do, something that is where it's accessible. I can get to it, and it's it pays decently well, and or whatever. Even if it does, just something that I can live a quiet life. I mean, I guess at this point I was just just something that I can do that's not going to be, something that I can do as a visually impaired person. That's why I came here. I wanted you to help me figure that out, right? So they were like, okay, so what do you want to do? I'm if I knew that, I would not have came here. That's kind of the point, right? So we had I guess I just didn't fully understand what the program was for, so I was a little bit confused by that. But eventually, at that point, we were well, maybe you can work in a call center, and I'm like, whatever, I've heard horror stories, but it's a job, right? Whatever. And so so we started with that, okay, and then I had to do a bunch of stuff. So I had to get a psych evaluation for some reason. That was scheduled after 2 months after this meeting. Had to get a psych evaluation, and then they're like, okay, well now we want to do a computer assessment evaluation, because you'll be working with computers, or that's likely what you'll end up doing. And so they're like, oh, that'll be in 3 months. We'll have you do that. I'm like, okay. Kind of want a job, so, ooh, crap. Hi there, buddy. Oh, this isn't good. I kind of stumbled into something here, didn't I? So I'm like, okay, this isn't good because this is taking a lot of time. And so, whatever, I went along with it. And so I did this computer evaluation thing, which was very surprising. So, like, what it was I thought it was going to be like, we're going to test your capabilities with a computer. Okay, that's what I thought it was. That's what I was led to believe it was. When I got there, what it actually was it was a guy who was showing me all these programs that you can put on your computer to, like, it helps people who are severely visually handicapped. Well, you have to understand something. Number one, it's not an issue I have. I don't have an issue on my computer. I never really said anything about having an issue with my computer. I've been using a computer since I was like 5. I have a big screen TV. You guys see the things I do with WoW and to make it work. And I do a lot of stuff like that. I have a system that works fine with my computer. I do everything on the computer. I wouldn't say that I'm like a computer whiz. To my family, I'm a computer whiz. Let's just put it that way. I'm not like, probably to a lot of people that watch this, like, I'm just like some novice. But point being, I can use a computer. But like, I went in there and they're like, he's like, okay, so name for me the components of a computer. And I'm like, okay, you've got your motherboard, you got your processor, you got your RAM. And he's like, no, I didn't mean that stuff. I meant, basic components. And I'm like, I was confused, like, well, those are the basic components of a computer, right? He's like, no, like, what do you call this? And he pointed to the keyboard. I was like, that's a keyboard. He's like, all right, what do you call this? I was like, that's the monitor. And I was like, oh, you mean like that stuff? I was like, oh, so you mean like just the parts, like the that kind of, like, the basic stuff. And I was like, okay, keyboard, mouse, monitor, tower. Like, there you go. That's what he wanted. And I was just like, oh boy. I see where this is going already, and I was just like, okay. And then he showed me these Zoom text programs, and he's like, so you don't even need to use. I was like, he's like, you don't even need to use your mouse. And I was like, well, I use my mouse. Like, well, you don't need to. You can do this. And I'm like, but I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't receptive to it at all. And we sat there for a half hour. He showed me all this stuff. He's like, okay, well then, how do you access the desktop? And I was like, Control Shift D or whatever, like, I forget, like, or Windows D. I think it's like Control Shift D. I know it, but I don't know it off the top of my head. And I was like, here, bam, and I was just doing like keyboard shortcuts, like basic Windows stuff. And I knew this stuff, and I wasn't trying to be mean, but I was just like, I don't need this. And like all these programs, voice to text, which I'm like, I don't need voice. I can read. I have big print. I can read this, And so eventually he's like, I don't think you really needed this. And I'm like, yeah, you're telling me, like, and so like, and keep in mind too, oh crap, that's a monkey. I didn't mean to fight a monkey. We needed to stay away from this path. I had to wait like 3 months just to do this, and I thought I was going to go in and they were going to like say, okay, you have some capabilities with the computer. You can type like, 75 words a minute or whatever, and you can, you know how to use a computer, so you'd probably be able to do this job. That's what I thought it was for. No, it wasn't any of that stuff. So, that was rough, and I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, things go on for a while. I wait for months and I don't hear anything. And I call, well, we're still working it out, and all this, and so I'm like, okay. And I'm waiting. And of course, keep in mind, I'm looking as well on my own, like trying to find something and like just looking at jobs, and I'm very overwhelmed because I don't know what's what. I don't know anything about anything. And I'm just like trying my best to figure things out. So I'm waiting for them, and I'm looking, and I'm not having much luck. And I wait. And so, long story short, over a year goes by, and I'm like still in this program waiting to hear and trying to figure things out, doing little things on the side, working a lot on YouTube at this point. This is like when I was doing like the Mist of Pandaria original macro series, stuff like that. I'm in the middle of that and just spending a lot of my time working on YouTube stuff. And I liked YouTube a lot. I still do. Obviously it's what I do. But eventually then I get a call from my caseworker, and she's like, hey, we wanted to send you an idea. Maybe you would like to do this. You seem like a type of person that you'd like to be your own boss. You seem like you'd be good for this kind of work. And I was like, okay. And she's like, we had this program called the Business Enterprise Program, and what it is that you can run your own business that's basically covered initially by the government, and we'll set you up, get you started, and you're good to go. I was like, what kind of business? Well, you can either do vending machines or you can do cafeteria. you can run your own cafeteria. And I'm like, okay. And a lot of them are in business, government buildings, like the military bases and other government city buildings, that kind of stuff. And, so the government kind of, covers a lot of the intro and starting, and, and then you're kind of good to go from there. Okay. And so, well, we'll look into it. Yeah, sure. That sounds kind of neat. And I was like, I don't know about food service, but I certainly wouldn't mind the vending machine. And so, I'm like, that sounds actually really exciting. I could totally do that kind of stuff. So, I was finally like really intrigued. Well, we finally set things up. I meet with someone new who's in part of the program, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm trying to remember this stuff as best I can. I meet with a vending machine operator, and he was really awesome. I really liked the vending machine business. And I was like, this is something I really could do. I had somebody that was like, if you get into this and you want to hire me to be your driver, I'll go with you and we'll do it. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll split the cost, or split, and pay you. And then they had a whole plan set up and everything. It was really looking like that was going to be cool. Well, they told me that I had to go, at least check out a cafeteria, which I didn't want to get involved with cafeterias. I mean, look, food service is hell. Anybody that's ever worked in food service knows it's not for everybody. And I was like, I don't really want to do it, but I'll humor them and I'll go do it. So I go and I go to this place. It's actually at a military base. It was actually a really cool experience. Met with somebody that was running a business there, and they actually were in a situation where their coworkers didn't come in. Their employees didn't come in because they were sick, and they were kind of like, oh crap, I'm kind of in a bind here. And so I was like, well, I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing, but if you have the food, I can at least serve it to people, I'm sure. And so I did that. That was stressful, and I was like, I knew I didn't want to do it, but I was like happy to help them out. And so after that was done, I waited for like 2 or 3 more months, didn't hear anything, and finally, like, my caseworker calls and is like, hey, got a job opportunity for you. And I'm like, what about this business thing? Well, it's actually connected to that. So the guy that you worked at the cafe for started a new cafeteria. He needs new employees. And I was like, I really don't want to, like, if I'm going to do this business thing, I'd rather just hold off and like get started on that. Well, you need to do it there. You need to do an internship, and this will count towards that, and you'll get paid. So I was like, well, I mean, yeah, that's fine. So first thing I had to figure out was transportation. And so they had somebody that came with me. They were like a job coach. They came with me and they provided me transportation temporarily. Well, I didn't know, like, I was only supposed to work for like a couple of weeks. That was the plan. Like, I was going to be a temporary employee. They were going to pay me. I was going to get my internship in, and then I was supposed to move on to my thing. So I was like, okay, cool, that works. But then it didn't. That eventually, like, I was still working there. The job coach was going to leave, so I was like, crap, how am I going to get to work? So I learned how to ride. At this point, I was near a bus stop. I learned how to ride the bus. The problem was, again, I lived in the place I had to work was in a city, and I was in a suburb. And on the bus, it was like a 2-hour trip to get there. It was a 2-hour trip to get there, and it was a 2-hour trip to get back home. So it was a 4-hour round trip for a job that was like 3.5 hours of a day of working. And, it wasn't really paying. It wasn't worth it. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, and pretty much everybody agreed. It wasn't. I mean, I was getting minimum, and it wasn't worth it. So, but I kept doing it because, like, whatever, it's fine. I'm learning and I'm growing, and it's an experience. And I kept doing it, and eventually, I worked there for like 2 months. I was only supposed to work there for a couple weeks. And I ended up working there for like. No, it was 3 months, actually. I worked there, I'm pretty sure. Well, things got worse at that place because, like, I was getting I didn't know what I was doing. The people that I was working with weren't there ever. So, like, people would just no-show, and I was, like, by myself, not knowing how to do anything. I had no experience. And then, like, I had some guy that was, like, came into the building I worked at, like, threatened me. And eventually, like, I don't need this. This cafeteria, like, this thing is awful. What really broke me on the job was I had somebody else finally came in. Somebody came in and helped me because I kind of raised enough cane. And they came in and they were like, because, like, I was just there to be the cash register. And that was the thing, is that I didn't run the kitchen. I didn't man the kitchen at all. Somebody else was supposed to do that, but they were never there. So I would just, like, cash register, make deli sandwiches, and hand out like grab and go items every day. And the people that were the customers were getting frustrated because like they were like, you're supposed to be able to serve like hot meals. I didn't know I'm doing that stuff. I wasn't a cook. So, but someone came in to help one day and they're like, okay, I can do a lot of this stuff. Well, we went into the back, we went into the kitchen, and the kitchen, like if you ever watch Kitchen Nightmares, like I felt like Gordon Ramsay, like, cause I didn't know, I was just there to run the cash register. I didn't know the state of things. The state of the kitchen was horrifying. I mean, it was terrible. And so that kind of got me. And so I called and like, I said, look, I'm done. Like I'm out of here. Like I'm not doing this anymore. I'll give you my 2 weeks and then I'm gone. And so I came back. Like I was like, okay, that was the weekend. I had to go do something for the program, so I took a day off anyways. And I was like, I'm taking this day off. I'll come back for 2 weeks and then I'm out. And so that was that. I was pretty stressed out at this point. Like the trips were killing me. And I found out that they actually, like, the whole point of me working there was because they didn't want me to do vending machines, which is what I was told I was going to do. They wanted me to take over that cafeteria from that guy who was only supposed to be taking it over temporarily, even though they knew that I had no interest in like running a cafeteria. Like they were trying to like manipulate me into doing that kind of stuff. And I was like, like, I want to do the vending machines, okay? And so I stuck with it for a little bit longer, and well, I was going to do 2 weeks. I gave them my 2 weeks notice. I was going to come work there for 2 more weeks. I came in Monday, the week after I announced that. I like let them know that I was not going to work anymore. I came in the next Monday. The front door was like locked. I couldn't get in, and so I had to like have somebody come open the door for me. And when I went in there, the place was a mess because the day I took off, whoever was there didn't do anything. The coffee thermos had coffee in it from like a week prior. From the week prior, so like they didn't clean that out. There were like, I mean, being honest, this is really gross. There were like dead flies on the counter because things hadn't been cleaned up. It was so bad. I walked out and I was like, I'm not serving from this place today. This place is closed. And then I checked the bus. I went home early and I called and said I'm not working. I'm not staying for 2 weeks. I'm out. Bye. And I walked out, and I felt bad that I had to do that. But I walked out, and then I went home. I was very, very irritated. I looked online, just so happened to find a job offer on the Walgreens, not job offer, but Walgreens near me, like literally a minute away from my house, was hiring. So I put an application in. Someone that I knew worked there. They put in a good word for me. Like literally 2 weeks later, I was working at Walgreens. I had spent years trying to find a job, and it just so happened that this time it worked out. So I started working at Walgreens, and it was kind of crazy. But that's how I found like my first job. My first job ever was working at that cafeteria from hell. And then I went from taking a round trip to a cafeteria that was awful place to work, that was terrible. That just didn't work out very well, and having to take a round trip 4 hours to get there and back, and only to work for 3.5 hours for crappy income, to walking to a minute away to a new job that was much better. Oh, my my Roku's going off, or not my Roku, but my vacuum. What do you call that? My iRobot vacuum is going. I forget what that thing's called. All of a sudden, we got one of those, and I forgot it was supposed to run today. So anyway, I got a little bit distracted there. Hi, Bastion. His name's Bastion, by the way. And he's going off now. But anyway, yeah. So I went from working a really crappy job that had a 4-hour round trip to working a much, much better job that was a minute away and it was local town. So I knew the people that would come in. It was much better. And I worked there for a little while. Ended up having an issue with, I had some issues that I eventually had to stop working, and stuff like that. And eventually got married, and things are better now. My wife, and we're a single income family. She works, and I work from home doing YouTube and doing other things. But that's kind of like what happened. and working at Walgreens was very nice. I'll be honest, like, so like a lot of the stuff that, like, when I was working at Walgreens, I was working, you know, it was a weird situation. Like, I was working at the register, it was fine. I couldn't do a lot of the other things, unfortunately. Like, I couldn't, like, going into the back and, like, finding things, I couldn't even, like, read half the boxes. So I was very limited in what I could do. And I was using their cash register machine, which was easy to do, but, like, a lot of times I would, like, I would look at the screen, and then I had to look at, like, the register, and then I had to, like, look at other things, and I was constantly readjusting my focus on my eyes, and I would start having, I didn't even realize how bad it was, but I would come home from, like, work, and I would have these awful headaches. Like, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, would come over, and we would just sit in a dark room for, like, a half hour to an hour, and so, like, it got so bad that I eventually was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can continue to do this. So, like, what I started to do is I talked to my boss, and I was like, hey, could I look into, like, maybe moving into, like, the photo booth? Like, maybe I could do photo, because, like, that would be a straightforward job that I could have. Like, and he was like, absolutely, we can move you into that. But then some other stuff happened that I don't know, man. I really don't want to get into it. It wasn't anything bad with the job. It was like some personal stuff. And well, you know what? I don't see it really isn't that bad. We moved away from there, and like that was part of it. And there were some other things. It wasn't like bad stuff. It just some logistical stuff that happened that basically I just couldn't work there anymore. And I felt really bad, but I had to. Like, that was just an example of, like, one of those things where you gotta kind of weigh the pros and cons out, and I couldn't continue to work there. So, like, I worked really hard to get that job, but, that's just kind of like, sometimes, like, when you have vision problems and life circumstances change, you can't really, you have to make decisions, and it's not as easy for you to adapt, as it is for again, I'm not complaining. It's whatever. I liked the job, and like, people don't understand. Like, I would work there, and people would be like, "Why are you so happy all the time?" And I'm like, "You don't understand, man. Like, I know this is I'm just a cashier. It's whatever, but like, I'm just thankful to have a job after everything I had been through. You know what I mean? I was happy to. I'm happy to say that I at least finally found a job. You know what I mean? And now things are good now. I mean, we live pretty comfortably. I'm always still looking for opportunities, and of course I continue to do YouTube, but I mean, that's my story. I mean, I get a lot of questions about it. A lot of you guys asked about it, and it's a long story. It took 2 episodes to get through, between college and this stuff. Sorry, my robot vacuum's still totally going off, but yeah, sorry about that, you guys. But I wanted to get that story out there. I thought people might be interested in it, and hopefully that answers that question. And hey, I would love to hear from you guys. If you have a disability, a visual disability in particular, and you have the same challenges, what have you done? Do you work? Has it been easy for you? Has it been difficult? Just like with me, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. If you have any cool jobs that you do, I'd love to hear all about that stuff, you guys. So either way, that'll wrap this episode up. We're going to keep leveling up here, killing tigers and panthers, oh my. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bastion says goodbye as well. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.